Oh, this is epic. This is epic. Never mind the Odyssey by Nolan. This is epic. Guys, change.org. Petition. Open rejection of Christopher Nolan's parody of the Odyssey. This is amazing. This is amazing. I'm clicking, all right. Open rejection of Christopher Nolan's parody of the Odyssey. The issue: we undersign Hellenes, Phil Hellenes, and all people concerned with the value and due respect to Hellenic culture and to all Western culture and civilization, declare that disrespectful and insulting cultural appropriation and implicitly parodic defacement that Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey constitutes must be frontally and formally rejected. I absolutely agree. 1. The Greek government decided to spend 6.5 million euros to finance a work that blatantly distorts and implicitly mocks the original worth and transcendence of one of the greatest masterpieces of Greek and universal poetic literature, culture, axiology, spirituality, and civilization, and it owes a formal explanation to the Hellenic people and to the whole international community about the reasons that make it take such decision. Yes, I agree, but rather than an explanation, we need a formal explanation and apology. Next, an internal investigation should be initiated if any anomaly could be suspected to have happened during that process, since that a national government could decide to use public funds to finance a foreign millionaire film director and a foreign billionaire commercial movie company seems to be at least questionable, especially in the case of the production of a work that is openly disrespectful to the people that the government represents. You know, as an internal government affair of the nation of Greece, I'd say fine. Cool. I mean, whatever. Number 2, if Christopher Nolan or his representatives deceived the Greek government in any way, obtaining such financing by providing false or misguiding information about the film, he and his production company should be sued for the largest possible amount of money, as the Greek government must defend its reputation and, above all, demand respect to Greece and its invaluable and incomparable culture. And so I agree with that. In fact, I was one of the first to say, guys, we got the Egyptian government, or the Egypt, I don't know if it was the government per se, but we got Egypt suing Netflix for Cleopatra. I think that's fine. I agree with this. I totally agree with this, because Hollywood needs to stop to culturally appropriating the West for their own political propaganda and machinations against white people. So I agree. Number 3, since the film is expected to have a revenue from 650 to 900 million US dollars as a minimum, a sue of at least that amount should be initiated. Holy moly, well, you're never gonna, I don't think you're gonna win that. I want to be honest, guys. I'm gonna be transparent. I hate Nolan enormously. But yeah, I'm just saying, as all their profit would be obtained at the expense of a national and ethnic due respect, which should not ever be negotiable. So I agree that that's the expense, but also this is not the profit, because it already costs, I know I'm being pedantic, but it already costs 250 million. So if it makes 650, the profit is 450, and in fact it's not, because 200 million at least, I want to say, would be the expected budget in advertisement or advertisement. Oh goodness gracious, let's just go with advertisement, whatever. And so in fact, even in that case, if they make 650, it's very likely that this cost a total of 500. So I think 150 is what the profit would be. Now the reason why I'm saying this is not to be pedantic, but just to be like, if you want this to go anywhere, which once again I don't really believe that anything is going to happen, but you have to be specific with the amounts. That is not the profit. A sum of $1 billion US could be an adequate point of departure given the transcendence and seriousness of all that it is involved in this so extremely condemnable affair. Look, I agree, it's a condemnable affair. I agree. I agree with the sentiment. I do. But I don't think any actual lawsuit will be anything but a slap in his face. That's just my opinion, just being real with you. But please go ahead, go forward, is what I'm saying. But But before we continue, let's have a word from today's sponsor. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their platforms could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of up to $1,000. For we propose that such capital should be used to completely finance the development of a new Greek film of the Odyssey, wonderful, created by the greatest possible contemporary Greek film director and giving all correct preferences to Greek actors, I love that, actresses, photographers, designers and musicians with the mission of creating the most important poetic cinematographic adaptation of Homer's incomparable masterpiece, creating with it an affirming testimony and rapturing homage to the majesty and grandeur that Hellas has been and keeps on being. 100%. I don't think that any judge is going to sign for that, but I agree. The remaining capital should be used to finance full student scholarships and the most intense promotion and support of population growth of the Greek people, 100%, affected by decades of virtually unbearable administrative and economical problems. Yes, so I agree. The problem is, though, that if this money arrived, do you really think that the Greek government, as it currently is, would use it for that? Just a question. And if you're Greek, please let me know what you think. 3. The Greek government expressed its firmest condemnation of the cynical act of cultural appropriation, this convenient ethnic erasure, of abhorrent levels, I agree, and this cultural distortion that is, above all, an unacceptable mockery and a blatant abuse of gigantic apparent proportions. Bro, I once again, my heart goes to you. I agree with your sentiment. But I mean, this needs to be rewritten a little bit because you're really mad. I can tell you're really angry. But you're being a little exaggerative. And I mean, I do it. But I'm not trying to get signatures for a lawsuit, is all I'm saying. Because I mean, I do use language like this sometimes, but it's. Anyways, it is the obligation of the Greek government to defend, in the clearest and most forceful manner, the respect due to the cultural heritage of Hellas and indeed that of the entire Western civilization that originated from her. I like that he says her for Greece. Now more than ever, the Greek government have the historical duty to make it clear that Hellas is not to be trifled with and that her national and ethnic treasures are not to be savagely pillaged and distorted with impunity by anybody. 100%. Hellas is not to be trifled with. Again, maybe write this, okay, after you sleep on it, is what I would say, if you want this to go anywhere. Because I get it. You're really angry. And I imagine, are you Greek? I imagine. So if you're Greek and you're angry, I'm with you, brother. Okay? I'm just saying, too many acts of anti-Hellenic cultural vandalism, true, have been perpetrated for millennia and they keep on being committed. So it is time to clearly state that enough is enough. He's right. Enough is enough. 100%. Next. This deserves all axiological and ethical condemnation because it is an act of cultural high treason, it is, against Hellas, and culture is a nation's greatest human treasure as it constitutes its essence. Okay. To let a nation to be publicly disrespected and even hiddenly and hypocritically mocked, it is to open a potential door to its future assimilation or elimination, as nobody would care about a people that has turned irrelevant or invisible. Yeah. This has happened and even keeps on happening to other peoples. And it must, they're all white, by the way. And it must never happen to Hellas, as it has been the light of the world and that she continues on being it. We need to work a little bit on the English here, but yes, generally speaking, I agree with the sentiment. I say it shouldn't happen to anyone. I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? So I'm a massive supporter of Greece, Hellas, Hellenes, all of it. Huge. You know me. I'm on your corner, Greeks. I don't know if this guy is Greek, but I'm on your... Oh, yes, it is. Petition starter is a Greek guy. So I'm on your corner. I'm your brother, okay? I'm your brother. But I do want to say, I wouldn't want this to happen to any culture. To any culture. right? So I wouldn't want it to happen to Italy and the Roman Empire. I wouldn't want it to happen to England and the Anglo-Saxons. It's already happening. I wouldn't want it to happen to American history. They're going to turn George Washington black, you know that. But I wouldn't want it to happen to African history and mythology either. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want it to happen to Japan. I wouldn't want it to happen to China. I wouldn't want it to happen to anyone. The Maori. How about we respect countries without race swapping them and changing everything and grabbing for money, but changing everything and at the same time saying how toxic they are and attacking them, because that's what they're doing. We know that that's what they're doing. So I understand that as a Greek, you are under attack right now, but the Anglo-Saxon are under attack. Everyone is under attack that is Western. So I'd say I wouldn't want this to happen to anyone, personally. I think that would be a stronger message, you know, because this way, if you write it this way, while I understand your feelings, because you feel like you're under attack, and you are, but at the same time, it makes you feel like you want, like you're some kind of like Greek supremacist, if you will. That's what they're going to use against you. Instead, I think it would be a much stronger case if you build it in a way that you say no country deserves this. No one of any ethnicity and of any group deserves this. We are the victims of this, and it's wrong. It is intellectually wrong against anyone, rather than saying you shouldn't do it to Hellas because we are the best of the best of the best. And again, this comes from someone who's a huge supporter of Greece and the Greek people. I'm just saying, I think it sounds better if you want more signatures, okay? And it's also fair, right? It's fair to say it shouldn't happen to anyone, regardless of the race, regardless of the culture. And yeah. The beginning of the next one. Let's see. I saw this one. We'll get there in a second. So let's see. This is way more serious than the umpteenth case of woke disrespect, cultural appropriation, and robbery. This is at the bottom nothing but the most outdated postmodernist travesty cliche and the lamest and worst obsolete cultural Marxism. I mean, it is rooted in cultural Marxism. I agree with that. With the corresponding ideological subversion, perverse attempts to establish a poisonous social engineering normalization, and all inferiority complexes that this always involves. Right. It is, at the end, an intentional evil act of anti-Hellenic racism. I would just say it's anti-white, man, and anti-European. It's not just anti-Hellenic. As you said, it's the core of the foundation of Greco-Roman society, which is the entirety of the West. So, yeah. And plainly hateful ethnical and cultural abuse, I agree, that deserves the strongest possible public condemnation. And it's got it. 700,000 dislikes, guys. It got it. This pseudo-intellectual, pretentious felony must make us all remember that it is Hellenic philosophy that teaches us that truth is the correct and total correspondence between thought and reality. Love it. Goodness is the due accordance between what is done and what is due, and beauty is the fulfillment of what corresponds to the greatest possible essential harmony of being, and as Plato clearly expresses, open quotes, the splendor of truth, close quotes. Bro, you're preaching to the choir here. I'm all about the truth. Therefore, there can be no beauty where the most abject and hideous ugliness prevails, built on the most insulting and deforming lies. 100%, yeah, lies should never be justified. Christopher Nolan, though, that thought, you forgot the T here, brother, that he was so clever as to dare to listen to the sirens chant, not while striving to return to Ithaca, but through embarking himself and all the people that carelessly, you should do, and selfishly followed him in the most cynical ego trip into the somber sea of his confused mind, without asking them first to put beeswax on their ears and tie him to the mast-still of his multimillionaire, absurdly misplaced, ruinous Viking longship. Man, that's convoluted. Okay, you need 3 paragraphs in this. So you need a few full stops, start again, next paragraph, capital letter. Let's divide it a little bit, okay? Because it's a very long stream of consciousness here. But if you're writing, it should sound like you're speaking, I'm saying, as a little bit of a suggestion. And yeah, the Viking longship, well, goodness gracious. The Viking longship. Let's go. He's continuing to insult Nolan, and I like that. He arrogantly chose to attempt to appropriate and deform something that never could have belonged to him. right? And which he should have approached with nothing less than reverence, committing an absolute detestable and abominable act of hubris. Yes. I would like to underline, though, I think his is an act of cultural treason, because in reality, as a man from the West, it does belong to him. I think the Odyssey and the Aeneid and the Iliad, they don't just belong to the Greeks, they belong to all of us in the West. And in fact, they can belong to anyone who is respectful enough to look into it, even if they're from somewhere else, they can accept it and embrace it. So I think that they belong to the whole world, but to learn and respect rather than to take, change, and chastise, which is what they did. So there is that. Because you're making this very Greek-centric, which I understand you're Greek, but I think it's better if you make it more like Western-centric. That's what I'm saying. Now he should see what happens after the sirens invade his delusional echo chamber. True, it is a delusional echo chamber. That's Hollywood, all right. And what are the consequences to that, to disrespect the majestic, long-sighted clairvoyance and the winged words of the immortal Homer? See, for instance, now you're using words like majestic, great, phenomenal. You're using this for Homer, and this is easier to sympathize with. You know what I mean? So, okay, well, I agree with this. I personally agree with it, and I support the rejection. Do I actually think they're gonna sue him for $1 billion? No, I don't think they will. But I'm happy to show support to this. I'm just saying, drink a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of wine, not too much. Sit down, touch it up a little bit, and write it in a way. Because remember, anger, even though it's righteous condemnation, just giving you a suggestion, because you got 663 signatures so far. So to reach the hearts of multiple people, I think tone down a little bit the anger, even though it's righteous indignation. Tone it down a little bit. And instead, talk about justice. What would be just? Because I think people, and I say this as someone who struggles with it, sometimes I had to retake a few videos because I was just too angry. And so sometimes you just have to look at what would be the just, righteous thing to do, is to show respect to anyone and wish that everyone would be treated equally, rather than saying, well, we are awesome, which you are, by the way. Greeks are awesome. But if you say we are awesome, and so no one should dare to mess with us, that doesn't connect with the wide public. Instead, you are awesome. You stay awesome anyways. But let others say it, like me, right? I'm not Greek. I'm Mediterranean. I'm from Sicily. I'm not Greek. But I do say it. I will say it, always. The Greeks are awesome. Greece is awesome. Greek history, literature, and culture is awesome. Let us say that, and instead maybe tone it down a little bit on that, and instead say, wouldn't it be right to treat everyone with respect, regardless of race, regardless of culture, regardless of nation, regardless of history? Don't twist histories. And then let's tell the truth. We don't need lies. And and I think that would work a lot better. Anyways, you get my signature. But first, I want to see if maybe you touch it up a little bit. But anyways, anyone who agrees with this, feel free. I'll put a link in the description, guys. Let's see if this grows. And thank you for watching. Efcharisto. Ciao. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.